Have you seen that TikTok filter where it shows you your red flags? Unfortunately, our red flags are harder to spot than the ones on social media. For example, I'm an Enneagram 3, and when I find myself treating other people with contempt, it's a red flag that I need to step up my self-awareness game. All you want to do all day long is play with me. We can't play with you. We have to pay rent because some of us need to work. The problem is, if you don't stop your red flags, you're gonna become a person you don't wanna be. But if you don't even know when your red flags are a-waving, that's gonna be a lot harder to do. Starting with the thing we all do when we try to get what we want. It's actually the opposite of what we learned in kindergarten, right? Treat others how you wanna be treated. Because when we disregard ourselves and others, we do what Riso and Russ Hudson call the leaden rule. Essentially, you treat others how you fear you're gonna be treated. But this isn't a one-size-fits-all situation, because all of the 9 Enneagram types, they have their own fears and desires. That means there are 9 different ways we can fall into the trap of putting others down to build ourselves up. For example, if you're an Enneagram 1, you're afraid of being a bad person. In response, you point out the bad things that other people do. If you're a type 2, you fear being unwanted and unloved. So when you think that might happen to you, you make others feel unworthy of your love. If you're a type 3, you're afraid that you're only as good as what you can achieve. So you turn that right back around and make others feel worthless if they're not accomplishing things. If you're an Enneagram 4, your biggest fear is not having significance. You want your life to matter, and I don't blame you. I think we all do. But when you're unhealthy, you treat other people like they're basic and not as worthy as those who are special and unique, like you. If you're type 5, you fear being useless and incapable. So you make others feel like they're stupid and incapable of doing things. If you're a type 6, you fear being unable to survive without guidance or support. So you can try to make others feel like they don't have a support system. If you're a type 7, you're afraid of being trapped in negative emotions. But you can do that exact same thing to other people by causing them emotional pain. If you're an Enneagram 8, you fear being harmed or controlled. So you ensure that you won't ever be treated like that by controlling the people in your life. And if you're a type 9, you fear losing connection with people and ending up alone. So when you feel hurt, you do exactly that. You cut off your connection with them and withdraw your love and friendship. But if you're like, Abby, I really struggle with these, I don't know what to do, don't worry. That's where your red flags come in. Starting with Enneagram 1, if you feel like your high internal standards are actually wrong and counterproductive, that's a sign in your head of like, ding, 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 something needs to change. Because your inner critic isn't the end-all be-all of right and wrong. In fact, treating it like that is just gonna make yourself and others miserable. The truth is, you're never gonna be able to please that voice. So being able to say, hey, this isn't helping me, and releasing some of that control, that's gonna be really healing for you. Next, if you're an Enneagram 2 and you start thinking things like,
am I driving all of my friends and family away?
That's a sign that you've suppressed your needs and desires to zero in on other people. But in the process, you're neglected and resentful. You think,
no one takes care of me the way I take care of other people.
The problem with this is you can't actually take good care of people if you aren't taking care of yourself. When you feel that red flag, know that it's time to check in with yourself and ask, what do I need? If you're an Enneagram 3, like me, your red flag is feeling like a failure. But even though that feeling sucks so much, I freaking hate it, it's actually a wake-up call. Because healthy 3s know that failure is a part of life. They understand that failing at something doesn't make you worthless. In fact, they celebrate failure and they learn how to work failure into their lives. Next, if you're an Enneagram 4, your red flag is thinking, I'm wasting my life! You can't shake the feeling that you aren't living up to this idealized version of yourself. But the truth is, healthy 4s accept themselves for who they are. You can do this by getting out of navel gazing and taking creative action. Focusing on the world around you will help you create meaning in life. If you're an Enneagram 5, your red flag is that you start feeling like you'll never be comfortable in this world. There's simply no place for you, so you have to do everything yourself. But that's a warning sign that something is off track. Because the truth is, you don't have to do life alone. In fact, it's healthier for you to open yourself up to love and help from the people in your life. And it doesn't have to be strangers or that weird coworker. It can be the few people that you really trust and love. If you're an Enneagram 6, you start thinking that you've caused a lack of security in your life. And naturally, this freaks you out. But the problem with this is you're creating fear and anxiety where there does not need to be any. For example, a lot of 6s I meet have this irrational fear that they're going to be fired. It's not based on any substance at all, but they get like really paranoid, and every time their boss emails them, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get fired. But the healthiest 6s are able to take a deep breath, release that fear and rely on their own thoughts and gut to say, hey, I am doing a good job. They're lucky to have me. I'm gonna go get myself a little sweet little snack from the kitchen. If you're an Enneagram 7, your red flag is thinking that the things you're doing are making you unhappy. But it's so hard to be happy when you're constantly thinking, okay, this next thing is gonna fill me up. It's a sign to exist right now in the present, to find joy in the things that you already have and to allow yourself to feel uncomfortable emotions like sadness and anger and loneliness. If you're an Enneagram 8, you know you're not doing so hot when you start feeling paranoid that everybody in your life is going to betray you. The fix for this is kind of scary for 8s, and they're probably gonna rebel against this, but I promise it helps. Vulnerability. Opening up about your fears and emotions is the best way to stop your red flag in its tracks. If you're an Enneagram 9 and you start thinking things like, oh my gosh, conflict is right around the corner. I know it's coming for me. I'm gonna have to face all my problems. Oh my God. That's a sign that something needs to change because conflict, unfortunately, is inevitable. If you can find the ability to sit in that temporary discomfort, you're gonna have way healthier relationships, communication, and be able to find more meaning in the work that you do. Because you're not falling asleep to yourself. You're honoring your thoughts and your desires and saying, hey, you matter enough to be uncomfortable for. But if this video made you feel overwhelmed, that might be because you have too much on your plate. In this next video, I walk you through how to use your Enneagram type to fight burnout with your stress and growth paths.